Where we're doing this interview, I lived for 6 years. Everybody thinks that you just open a business, hang your shingle, and all of a sudden you're a millionaire.
And my third question is, how much money did you need to start the business compared to how much you thought you needed?
I'm sick of people romanticizing, fantasizing, glamorizing entrepreneurship. I don't believe that it's the real story.
You also don't tiptoe around stuff. Like if you see a problem, you'll let it be known that you see this as a problem and then say something and then it'll be fixed.
Most people are not willing to make the type of sacrifice that it takes to actually figure it all out. I was just simply willing to do what was necessary to live to fight another day.
Hey guys, so today we're in Jason's dungeon. It's a very interesting place.
Dungeon.
It's his dungeon. You guys don't know it yet, but it is.
Well, you don't know it. This is the fallacy about entrepreneurship. Everybody thinks that you just open a business, hang your shingle, and all of a sudden you're a millionaire. I am 19 years in. Maybe on paper I am a millionaire, but I don't have $1 million in the bank. And how did I get where I am? Where we're doing this interview, I lived for 6 years. Like, this was the amount of space that I had to work with, and it was close the place down and come down here and set until I got tired, to go to sleep, to get up, to go back up, to open up the store for 6 years. Because I had to choose between, do I pay the light bill? Do I pay the rent payment, or do I try and have personal living space, and then that would consume enough money that I wouldn't be able to make sure that the lights were turned on and the door opened up every day to have another fighting chance the next day. The real story of entrepreneurship is just exactly what are you willing to sacrifice today to have a fighting shot at tomorrow. It was a lot of painful years, and because at 19 years, I'm saying the first 11 were extreme pain. And most people are not willing to make the type of sacrifice that it takes to actually figure it all out, build all the systems and processes, patiently serve one customer as if they are your only customer every day until they start talking to each other and talking about the good product and the good service and the consistency, and it being a small business worth supporting, and taking the years for those to multiply to get to a point to say, oh, okay, and that's that whole overnight success. And people are like, no, it took 5, 10, 15, 20 years to be the overnight success that everybody wants to call out. That is not how it happens. The pain and the sacrifice and the lessons that are learned, it changes you, it makes you a different person. But this is where I spent a good clip of my life just surviving to make sure that I was going to get to where we are. A sustainable business that is bringing people in to create opportunities to move to the next. But the beginning years were very ugly years, and I was just simply willing to do what was necessary to live to fight another day. I know, it's not, most people wouldn't do this, and they damn sure would. They might do it for a night and call it camping, but they wouldn't do it for 6 years. I get it. That might be the separator between the failed and the successful, and it's definitely one reason why 99 out of 100 fail trying to do it, because they're not willing to make those sacrifices, because they don't have any appreciation for delayed gratification. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox. Yeah. Karlee, thank you for doing this. How long have you been with the business?
For over 2 years.
So I'm gonna, before we actually go into the interview, because again, the interview side was meant to, I don't want to say reconnect with the employees, but allow the opportunity for connection and answering questions that I don't know what questions are going through everybody's head, but then I'm not saying anything that she doesn't already know, but there is a lesson there. Karlee was one of the people that she was ambitious and she wanted management, and I purposely blocked her. I supported her, but I blocked her at the same time because she was not ready, and I did not want to set you up to fail. So through my conversations with Rebecca, it was encourage your development, encourage you to present yourself and conduct yourself as a leader and gain the respect of your coworkers as just a coworker, and looking at that. At what point do you have that respect where we could actually give you the title that you wanted without your own people rejecting you? So I'm actually happy with the timeline and the way everything happened, because had we given you what you wanted when you wanted it, it would have set you up to fail, and then it would have just been a very painful period for all of us. And I've seen it before. The likelihood is we would have lost you midstream because you would have buckled under the pressure. And at 20 years in, I can look back, had that happened, it would have been my fault, because I would not have slowed you down and made sure that you developed that respect, rapport, reputation with your people, because you're so young, before putting you in a leadership position like that. And I think that it has actually turned out very well, albeit nobody wants to hear that they are being blocked or slowed down in their pursuits. But it was the right call, and it's turned out the right way. And I hope that is a leadership call that I can look back on and take another lesson from it and say that was a good call to make, and then passing that on to the managers, because inevitably there will be somebody like you that will remind you of yourself later on, and you can hearken back to this and say, okay, how can I empower them and encourage them while at the same time making sure that I'm not setting them up to fail, because everybody's quest for, I want it now. And sometimes you need to dial that back and throttle it to make sure that they don't stumble. Okay, so you have 10 questions.
Got 10 of them.
So let's see where this goes.
Okay, so my first question is, how are finances starting out? Were you in the red a lot, more in the yellow, or like green?
Oh, I think the same way 99 out of 100 fail, out of the one that makes it, 99 out of those 100 are in the red for a long time. And I was, because it's figuring it out. It was just like in the early years, I didn't know what kind of marketing would work. So I said okay to everything. And one of the first lessons I learned was the lesson of saying no, because ad reps will bleed you dry and tell you that they are the next greatest thing, and that their advertising medium will just flood your business with all the customers that they paint such this beautiful picture, and they just want you to cut them a check because they're working off of commission, and they will bankrupt you. And I got to a point of my bank accounts are in the negative. These ad reps have sold me on it. I said yes. Now they want paid, but the customers are not showing up the way they promised. But I still made an agreement, and they've got to be paid. But I don't have the revenue. What rock can I dig a couple spare change out of to make sure that no? I operated in the red for first 10 years. And I think that is the majority of business, that you're going to operate in the red for the first couple years. When you get into venture capital, like, they purposely will operate in the red. I mean, even look back at Facebook operated in the red for the first decade. Amazon operated in the red for the first couple decades, because they were investing in things for the bigger picture of what they were trying to do. small business just operates in the red because they still believe in what they are doing, but it is hand to mouth and robbing Peter to pay Paul. And the question is, when do you throw in the towel? Or when do you figure it out and your numbers start actually making sense? And that's why I harp on you guys that your two levers that you can control are labor and cost of sale. Those are the two levers that are going to determine whether there's more money in the bank at the end of the month or not. And for many years, there was not more money in the bank at the end of the month. Some of it was in me as an individual. Some of it was in systems and processes. Some of it was in accountability and holding managers' feet to the fire. But for many years, many years, operated in the red. And that's why I had to live down here for 6 years, because I could not, the money was not there to afford myself a personal life or a personal space. And I still believed in what I was doing. So yeah. No, in the red, the vast majority operate in the red, and it's a question of, do they figure it out? And the guy that says, oh, it's easy, just go out there and turn on your business and you can make a lot of money. They're either just flat out full of shit, or they're trying to sell you something, or they ate their lucky fucking charms and they happen to be the one guy that struck gold at the end of a rainbow. That it's just not reality. Yeah, you operate in the red for a long time.
My second question is, what made you want to own your own business?
Honest answer, I didn't. My dream job was to be a union rep. My son died 30 days after I got elected. He died 30 days before re-election. I didn't get re-elected. That was when I needed those people and I needed that job the most, because my brain was in turmoil and I felt betrayed. And it was candidly a, fuck them, they don't want me. Well, I don't need this. I don't need to punch a clock to work. And I had this little idea in the back of my head, and when I started searching for, my brain started searching for what is out there to latch onto, to not just wallow in the grief. I remembered 5-6 years earlier that a buddy of mine, that we burned a vacation and went out to a coffee expo in Seattle. I remembered the Starbucks selling a cup of coffee for $4 and me being amazed and knowing that there's profitability that could potentially be there. No, I didn't want to lead a company. This is, and I've never wanted this. I've always wanted to be in leadership, but I never wanted to be the number one. I just wanted to have a semblance of control of my destiny. So I wanted to be involved in leadership. I really thoroughly enjoyed being a union rep. I enjoyed working in the factory. I enjoyed working with my hands. I have so much love and admiration for Chrysler. This business is a product of bad shit happening and me knowing that bad things happen to idle minds, and I still have responsibilities. And this was a total, I need something for my brain to latch onto. This was not a build it and they will come out of dumb ambition. This was a, if I don't give my brain something to work on, bad things will happen. And I know service. Like that was that because Pizza Junkies came after Coffee Junkies, because I delivered my first pizza when I got my driver's license. I've known food. I know how to serve people. Coffee, and I've long said, I mean, like, you think coffee's easy, and coffee's easy to screw up, and as you have found out. But the point is it was like, that's, food and beverage is the easiest business to get into, and it's the hardest business to master. I didn't know about the hardest business to master part, but it was easy to get into, and my brain was like, you can latch onto that, and it will keep you busy, and it definitely has kept me busy. So, yeah.
Okay, my third question is, how much money did you need to start the business compared to how much you thought you needed?
Okay, so generally speaking, everything that I had built up in my life, I started with roughly $40,000. And here's where we get into faith. I knew 40,000 wasn't enough, but I knew that it was enough to get me stepping in a direction, and I had faith that the money and the resources would present themselves when I needed them. And like so many times over the last 20 years, those resources and that money never appeared exactly when I wanted it to appear, but it always appeared right in the nick of time to keep me taking that next step forward. So when it was all said and done, in order to actually get the business off the ground, then again, mind you, this is 20 years ago, I needed about, I think that all in, it took about 75 to get it off the ground. And slowly, as people saw, oh, he's not joking, he's taking steps forward, he's signing a lease, he's opening a building, pieces started falling into place and people were willing to help, and the money presented itself for me to continue to take those next steps to get it open. And then once I got it open, then it was a support the daily, because I did have the Chrysler income, and I had dug myself a very deep hole of debt. And when I left Chrysler, then I got my buyout paycheck, and that was able to shore up all of that debt, which I don't even know was a good thing, because all I did was go right back into digging myself a new hole all over again. That again, I had to find more money to continue to dig myself out of the hole. And that is the story of small business. Robbing Peter to pay Paul, to live to survive another day, and every month trying to make incremental improvements to improve your cash flow situation to the point of getting cash flow positive, so that you don't have to start looking under rocks for extra money.
My fourth question is, how was your staff then when first starting to now?
That's the part of the reason that I wanted to do this. I've understood that there are hard and fast rules. I've tried to break them that are not, like, they're hard and fast rules for a reason. Like, it's concrete. Your head is not going to break through it. But I have always beaten industry averages on employee turnover, and I think that has to do with, before we got where we are, I was one of you. I was working beside you, and it was that me taking the interest in the people and showing them and talking about the bigger vision of what I wanted it to be, of what I envisioned as a small business. Like, it was nothing for me to, I'm sitting here going, so second employee that I hired was with me for over 4 years. Fourth employee that I hired was with me for over 6 years. I've employed hundreds and hundreds of people at 20 years, but for a small business, it is not normal to have such a low turnover rate. And I think that does come back to the culture and me coming at it from the union rep side of, like, mistakes happen, things happen, people deserve second chances in life. And I want that connectivity, and I want other people to understand the vision. And I also, it's bringing people back to understand, like, you're not just serving coffee, you are representing a local business and a small brand, but more importantly, this was created due to the loss of my son. So it is it is our job to be the babysitter of this brand and nurture it and develop it and give it all of the things that it needs. And I believe that so wholeheartedly that I've never had a problem talking about it, and I've never had a problem getting my people to understand where I was coming from. And it's that buy-in through that transparency that I have majorly beat industry averages in turnover, and all based on working with you, on looking at it as, I understand that, like, you work for me, but I don't in the day-to-day look at it like that. We are working with each other because we're working on something bigger than both of us. And I think in a certain respect that's inspiring. I think that it gives people purpose. You're not just coming in for a job. You are coming in to be a part of a team, to work on this cool little brand that was created from a very low point and a horrible loss, that there's deeper meaning there, that ideally that gets you to take more pride in your work, which is a better result for the customers that we serve, that generates the loyalty that you need in order to build a thriving business.
And you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but my fifth question is day-to-day when starting compared to now.
Okay, now repeat that so that I'm understanding that.
Like your day-to-day, like how you went about then compared to now.
Completely. I've said that, look, it's like when you get into business, you have to do it all, everything. Nobody's going to do it for you. And then when you start breaking it down, you get a little bit further. It's, okay, well, you need to enlist people to help. But where is the first place to start to enlist people to help? Enlist people to help at pieces that you're not good at. Because you need to break yourself down and recognize, I'm not good at this. I can hire other people that are better at doing this than I am. And I'm saying it like that because you instinctively want to hire people to do the things that you don't like doing. You're not afforded that luxury in the beginning. You should hire people that can do certain tasks better than you can do them. Once they start doing them better, then you're moving to the next thing, where then you can hire people to do the pieces that you don't like doing. So it has been a progression of, I went from having to do it all to at least I have better people doing pieces because I'm proficient, but I'm not great at it, to, okay, we have a certain scale. Now I can say I don't like doing these pieces, so now I'm going to hire more people to at least take the miserable jobs away from me. Then it was the progression of, if I'm working in it, I can't work on it. So the next progression was for me to move into the leader, the coach, the orchestrator, because if I'm working in it, I'll never be able to work on the bigger picture itself. So that has been the progression of, no, I know all of you watch the training videos, so it's very obvious that if I'm the one doing the training, I was a barista, I was a pizza builder, I was every single position. But if I take the time to do that position now, well, then I'm going to take my eyes off of the multiple businesses and the multiple leaders that need the help and the resources. And basically, long story short, I've went from doing to today I'm the one carrying all of the experience and wisdom that I need everybody else to lean on that experience and wisdom, which means it's a lot more about communication, information dissemination. Because if I took the time just to sit there and make pizzas, well, then I'm not readily available for everybody to lean on that experience and that wisdom, which means we're going to end up making mistakes that I already have made, that there's no point in making that mistake again. So I need to be communicating to make sure that we're not making mistakes that have already cost me thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars, that don't make those mistakes again because they're very painful to rebound from.
My sixth question is, why did you decide to open 2 to 3 more stores rather than just keeping one?
Well, again, and that we go back to history. At one time I had 7. This was back in the 07, 08 housing crisis, bubble burst. I had huge ambitions. When I started Coffee Junkies, I wanted 50 stores in 5 years. To directly answer your question, I opened more stores because I didn't leave Chrysler to create a job for myself. And if I just had one store, all I'm doing is creating a job for myself. I left Chrysler to build something. I wanted to see, what can I build? How big can I build it? Because when I started Coffee Junkies, it was for all the reasons with my son. When I left Chrysler, it was because I realized I had put my life savings into Coffee Junkies, and neither Chrysler or Coffee Junkies was getting my full-time direct attention. My attention was being split between the two. And I think I made that comment to somebody here lately. If you go back in history, that was at a time when John McCain and Barack Obama were running in an election to be president. And John McCain made it very clear that he would not bail out the auto industry if he got elected. And I saw bad things going on with the auto industry, and I thought John McCain was going to be elected. And here they were offering a buyout, which allowed me to leverage my 14 years there for a pretty handsome check to walk away to, again, invest in what I had started. And I mean, obviously hindsight's 2020 and you can look back at everything in history, but the point is, yeah, I thought I was, with the information that I had at the moment, I thought that I was making the best decision. That I've seen what the auto industry failed in other communities and what they have done to those other communities. So I wanted the money so that I could try and grow outside of Kokomo quickly, because if the auto industry failed in Kokomo, it would kill the entire community. So I was trying to grow into other communities to leverage what I had started in this community, but I don't know where this community is going to be. And there was a time where Kokomo went from top 10 fastest dying communities to top 10 fastest growing communities. Well, I remember in the dying community time that I felt an urgency to get operations opened up in other communities. My stupidity was that I didn't have the systems, processes, and training put together to sustain an actual business model, and ultimately I ended up having to close down all of those operations. I went from 7 to 2, and it was then sorting through the rubble to find out everything that I did wrong, then building good systems and processes, applying them to the 2, which then led to the, okay, I think I've got something here, time to buy a competitor. Bought the competitor, implemented my systems and processes, fixed that business, which led to the test kitchen that created Pizza Junkies. And yeah, there's a whole bunch there. But no, the long and the short is I had a great job at Chrysler. If I'd have just had one store, I'd have been doing a swapping one job for another. And I wanted to build something. That's why I continued to open stores. And I just kept telling myself, I'm going to make mistakes early and often, and whatever the price is that I have to pay for those mistakes, they are mistakes that will turn into lessons that will serve me for the next 30 years. And at this point, I feel like I've made more mistakes than you'll probably make in your entire lifetime. But I've still got another 30 or 40 years worth of life, so those lessons will serve me well for the rest of my life. And I want to apply them to the business to continue to grow from one store to a couple stores to a couple hundred stores to a couple thousand stores.
My 7th question is one of our product questions. So when the Asylum was first created, what were your thoughts on it, and why did you decide to name it the Asylum?
And you know what? This one is a lot like the Ricky. It's similar to the Ricky Bobby, and I've told that story enough that I don't think that I need to tell that story again. But the point is, I had nothing to do with the Asylum. No, I don't know. Did you have anything to do with it? The Asylum was a 100% employee creation. It ain't no different than we've talked. Like, I started with the base menu. And then I encouraged the girls to get in there and play with all of the different flavors to create different drinks that build out our menu. Pizza Junkies is no different. I played with and I created all of these specialties and branded all of these specialties because the vast majority of the pizzas that are on the menu are my creations. But there are a couple of them. The Picasso, my sister created. The Ricky Bobby was a creation of a previous employee. The Asylum was 100%. She brought me the pizza, she brought me the recipe, she brought me the name, and I looked at it and I was like, barbecue, cinnamon, and sugar, all of those meats that you would not think would go together, and jalapenos on half of it. Yeah, that's kind of insane. So yeah, I could understand, and then when I tasted it, I'm like, that's a pretty unique flavor in itself, and it was shelved for 2 years?
3.
3 years? Yeah, this has been on the back that we had the recipe, we knew it was a good flavor profile, we had a brand to actually do, and it sat on the shelf, and we did nothing with it for 3 years. And here we are now, just rolling it out, and it was like, why roll it out now? Coming up on Halloween, great time to roll out the Asylum, and it's an oddball pizza that you look at it and you're like, man, I don't know, but very much like the Cartman, where you're like, you're not, but it turned out to be actually a really good pizza. And much the same way of the previous interview, that individual is no longer here. That is why I'm not stating a name, because there's not good memories there. That individual did not take care of the business at all, inevitably did not serve the business well, created a ton of problems for us to have to overcome. But they gave us, in their departure, they gave us one thing that looks like it's can very well be a more than just a limited time only. This pizza could very well make the menu for permanence. Well, time will tell.
About one of your brands, why did you decide to create your podcast? Were you influenced?
And there's several reasons why I created the podcast. The shitty side. I created the podcast because I'm sick of people romanticizing, fantasizing, glamorizing entrepreneurship. I don't believe that it's the real story. And so my podcast, my platform, my ability to tell the real story. The other side of it, I have always, my place has been in service, never in sales. I wanted to serve people. So I know that when I create that content, that it lives on that platform forever. And then as I'm reading several books, it was like, well, who are you talking to? Honestly, there's a part of me that I'm like, I don't even know if he'll ever see this, but I'm talking to my son. Because I'm sitting there going, if my son will listen to these things, not only can he gain some business insight, he can gain some insight into his father from a perspective that he does not truly know me. He knows some of the sacrifices that everybody had to make because of some of the decisions that I made. He knows who I am as a father in general, but from the entrepreneur, the business side of it, he does not know me and about like his mother. My brain never stops. I'm an exhausting individual, but I put it out there, and my hope was one day he would actually go back and listen to that stuff. Not only would he learn from it, it's an opportunity for growth. But putting it out there like that, it's like, I would like, in my head, it was like, I want to cut the failure rate of entrepreneurship in half. How do I do that? Well, you're not going to like the answer. Most people want to blow smoke up your ass and be all positive. My answer is half should never try, because you're not built for it. So it was, let's talk on the podcast about what it takes and what kind of individuals have a higher propensity to be successful. To try and get half the people to literally not try to do it because you're not truly built for entrepreneurship. And so that was the podcast, putting it out there, what the real story was, the sacrifices, the things that you were going to encounter, and the types of personalities that should just leave that shit up in your brain as a good idea and just go be a really good employee for somebody else, because being number one is not all it's cracked up to be. And most people buckle under the pressure They don't thrive in those situations. They are not. If you don't know yourself to enjoy putting puzzles together, to enjoy solving problems that other people are not capable of solving, that if you don't know yourself to be somebody that pressure is debilitating, it's paralyzing, and if you don't know yourself to be somebody that is capable of moving through that paralyzation, that like you shouldn't be an entrepreneur, you shouldn't get in business because it'll cripple you. I wanted to put those things into a podcast format to at least give the real story about small business. And is it coming out? I don't know, but I know that it's out there, and it will be out there for all time after I'm dead. And I do know that I have been able to affect a couple people's lives, ultimately for the better, so I know that there is a certain amount of worth it.
This one might be a hard one. It could be an easy one, but if you could redo one thing as a business owner to make any of your businesses better, what would you do?
I was thinking about this last night as I was setting an IHOP, about ready to go get my eggs. I will give a shout out to Cone Palace, because we're talking about on a Sunday night at 6 o'clock, every space was full. Their drive-thru was completely wrapped around. They had 6 cars tying up Center Road waiting to turn in, and it was beautiful. Why was it beautiful? Because then I did some Google search. That business was created in 1966. You're talking about a business that is a small business, one single operation, more than 50 years old, killing it. No marketing effort is capable of producing that. No one individual is capable of producing that. The only way a single store operation small business lasts the test of time and is that wildly successful is if they have systems and processes and training and culture that keep both employees and customers coming back for more. And it took me a decade to figure that out, and that's why I operated in the red for so long, and that's why after 5 years I virtually burned it all down and had to rebuild it. You have got to have systems and processes and training, and then have great people to operate those systems and processes and training. If you think that you're just going to hire great people, it's a flash in the pan. You might actually enjoy a little bit of success for a little bit amount of time, but you cannot stand the test of time. You cannot have a thriving business that is over 50 years old without systems, processes, procedures, training, and a culture, and then attract good people. Good people will not do it. You have too many emotions. They will be good 1 minute. They will be vengeful and resentful the next minute, and they will, where can I inflict the most pain? I'll take it out on their business. And the only thing that will allow a business to sustain is solid systems, processes, procedures. And I'm looking at Cone Palace going, oh my God, a 60-year-old business. It is a single store operation, and for like, eggs are my favorite thing. So I mean, I'm like, I love the IHOP Colorado omelet, but I'm sitting there looking at Cone Palace nonstop, like stacked. There was no room, there's no room inside of that operation for employees to have idle time. There's no room for drama because they were busy from every orifice. It didn't matter whether people were parking to come in to pick up carry-out or in the drive-through lane or setting out on the picnic tables. They're literally blocking traffic on the main road for hours, and this business is 60 years old. Kudos to Cone Palace for all it is. I root for a business to have that kind of success, it is a testament that a small business is capable of having iconic status just as a single operation, but it all comes back to systems and processes. And most small businesses, they don't want to take the time to develop them. They just want to depend on people, and I'm just here to say, people will let you down. Systems and processes will not let you down as long as you continue to develop and refine them. You will. It's always on the lookout for the next great person to come in to operate great systems and processes. McDonald's did not grow to what it is with 16-year-olds that they're just lucky to find a bunch of 16-year-olds to do billions of dollars in revenue. They mastered their systems and processes to the point that they can literally run an entire multi-billion-dollar organization off of 16-year-olds. That is strong systems, and most small businesses don't take the time to learn that.
My last question, which is kind of a curveball question. If you could combine 2 animals to make a house pet, what would you choose?
Man, if I could combine 2 animals to make a house pet, it's funny. So, I had a dog, his name was Bacchus. Bacchus was a purebred Rottweiler. This dog, took the time to train him. But this was back in like when you had regular VHS. I bought this training called Command Performance. I trained him on being a great obedient dog that would respond to verbal and hand. While I was at work, Marcia trained him for all of the tricks, and such a great dog. And when he died, I just couldn't bring myself to try, and I didn't want to go get another dog because I would feel like that I was trying to replace him, and I couldn't do that. So I love animals, and it was like cats. I lost my son after 8 years. I lost Bacchus, which he was part of the family, after 8 years. I can't deal with that. Cats, you get 10, 15, 20 years out of them. They're very independent. They don't stop you from being mobile. But the thing is, I look at the lions and tigers, and I'm like, it's not necessarily that I would want a lion and tiger walking through the house. That you never know, they could really, piss them off. They really, but when they're cubs, and it's like a cub of a lion and tiger would be the equivalent of my cat times 10. And I love the thought of my cat being size-wise times 10. I can remember when, Bacchus was great because, I let him in the bed. And I would wake up and I'm like, you fucker. The dog literally stole my blanket and pillow, and I would be sitting there on the bed shivering, and I'm like, and he's just laying there all cuddly and took half the bed like a full-grown adult. And I look at my cat and I'm like, furry, and if that cat was just 10 times bigger, I could put my arm around her. And so I don't know what, I guess when I think about it, if you would necessarily combine animals, but to have a not wild cat the size of a lion or tiger as my house pet, that would be totally cool. I would absolutely love that. We did when we took Coffee Junkies on the road, we did this fair in Connersville, Indiana, and I just thought that it was very fitting that Connor was my son that died, twin brother Cole. At the end of the event, as we were closing down, this cat shouldn't have been out there, found its way over to us, to which obviously then we started to feed it. Then we realized that it was not skittish of, which as we're breaking down the building, then we find the cats in the building drinking the milk. We're further breaking down. Somewhere there's pictures of literally this cat's just passed out and sprawled out, and I'm like, okay, I guess we got a new cat. And to which in my head I'm like, we just got a cat from Connersville. We're gonna give this cat to my son Cole, only to find out as this cat grew, and I didn't even know that these existed, that they have what they call Maine Coons. That this cat's a Maine Coon. And I mean, I've got pictures of my son holding this cat, and this cat's like this. And then he names the cat Winston, and I'm like, you're naming the cat after my cigarettes. Like, what the? But he is a big, cool cat that on the size of cats, he's probably the biggest cat that I've ever been able to hold. And he is cool, but I'm like, if I could have Winston times 5, because just that big, cuddly, like, how you going to say no to that? But I know some people aren't cat people. Some guys just are not secure enough in their manhood that they can't bring themselves to love cats. No, I'm a cat. I'm an animal lover, but what I love about cats is that they're self-sufficient. Yeah, like they're not up your 24/7. Give them love, give them food, clean their litter box, and I can leave for a week and I know that they're going to be okay. And when I come home, sometimes she bitches at me, and then that's gone for 5 minutes, and I move on down, because freedom is ultimately, I need freedom to move around. You don't have that with a dog. So a cat, and the bigger the cat, the better. Okay, so now we get to my 2 questions. It was like when I phrased these questions, it was because I realized in this day and age, so people take so many things for granted, which that is what it is with the life. But the point is that I'm phrasing the question, why do you choose to work for me? Why did you choose to come to work for me? Why do you choose to stay working for me? Because I know in this day and age, so many people are quick to, hell, I don't need this. Like, you're going to face adversity in any type of business. And most people, as soon as they have that first hint of adversity, are like, I don't need this. I'll just go work somewhere else, only to find out all they're doing is just starting over and over and over. But why is it that you choose to work for me?
There's a lot of room for growing. So obviously, I came in, started as a barista, and, worked my way up. And then you also don't tiptoe around stuff. Like, if you see a problem, you'll let it be known that you see this as a problem, and then say something, and then it'll be fixed. A lot of people will just, like, I don't really want to call it my old business, like, that I worked for, but, you mention a problem to them, and they're like, they just put it on their shoulder and like, it doesn't matter. But you'll be like, okay, I'll take that into consideration, and you go with it, and you figure out a solution for it. A lot of people don't do that.
Fair. And that's I have long said, I don't know whether you will like me, but you will respect me, because you will always know where I stand, and you will see that I do in fact care. That does not mean that things are always going to go the direction that you want them to go, or they will always be fixed the way that you want them to be fixed. But my intentions are clear. Character is very important to me, and it's like, yes, my hope is you will see that effort. And even if you disagree with me, or due to accountability, you get mad at me because of something that I point out, that there will be that respect and rapport, that yes, I want that transparency. And part of that is knowing that you guys leave knowing I will address those issues. I will find solutions. I won't just let them continue to create problems. Okay, so last question. Why should other people patronize these brands?
Because we care. We care about the customer. We care about what we serve. People should be able to come here and get the same thing every single time. People like that. And you go other places, and like, sometimes your rice will be not done, and then other times it will be done. And then you're like, well, I don't want the inconsistency of it, but we're always consistent.
And I'm gonna be honest, Karlee, we were not always consistent. And that was that figuring it out of I want to serve people, and I want to serve a high quality product, but it doesn't matter if you want to serve people, and it doesn't matter what kind of product that you want to serve. Whatever it is, if it's not consistent, you will never build a business off of it. So the fact that you can actually say that is we're doing some things right, because consistency is what it is all. Okay. Thank you very much for doing this, and hopefully some good comes out of it.
I think so.
Okay. All right. I would say I don't have any closing or wrap for this. It is what it is. Yeah, I know this is oddball, and this was because the cafe was filled up, the dining room was filled up, the kitchen was hustling and bustling, and the girls were busy, and it was like, where can we do this?
I was so tempted to slide my phone to you on the asylum question, because 2 seconds before you asked that, Ashley asked if she can come get an asylum. And I was like, we're always open for business.
But that's what kills me, because we go back.
It just made me laugh the time.
No.
You haven't heard from her.
We go back to the Ricky Bobby thing. There were people, haters, that they thought that they would catch me taking credit for the Ricky Bobby. No. If I do something, I'm not going to let somebody else take credit for something that I did. But you will never catch me taking credit for somebody else's work. Mine is to praise. I couldn't do what we do if it wasn't for you. And I would never take credit for work that you do. In the midst, I have hard feelings with I have hard feelings with her, but I would still never take credit for work that she did. I think that is shitty low character, and I'm like, love me or hate me, when I die, you're not going to say that I'm fake. You're not going to say that I tried to take credit for other people's work. You're not going to say that I didn't earn it every step of the way. That the character is more important than anything else. And so, yeah, she's the one. I mean, she ain't gonna get it for free.
Right.
That's right.
It was just funny timing.
But I'll credit it to I didn't create it. And the same way that I encourage you to make new drinks for the liquid candies, the dirty sodas. I'm like, you make more. You come up with new drinks, and I will credit the appropriate person for making those drinks. I'm not.
We should add that to the Barista Bible.
What's that?
Who came up with it? Like a little closer.
I don't have a problem with that. The problem is, though, that you are going to see, if you do that, you're going to see my name 75% of the time.
Well, we will put your name.
That's what I'm saying, is that you'd have to document in there, because I did produce the vast majority of both menus, but I don't want to take credit away from other people, that there were other people that had legitimate input, and it's all of that input collectively that has gotten us from where we were to where we are to where we're going.